Good afternoon, Franklin Township. Welcome to the June 4th, 2021 edition of the Franklin Reporter and Advocate News Hour. We have a very special and interesting news hour scheduled for you today. We're going to be talking with Dr. John Ravalli, who's a school superintendent for Franklin Township, and Daryn Plummer, who is the recently appointed, I'm going to get this title wrong because it's so long, Coordinator of Equity, Inclusiveness, or Inclusion and World Languages.
He's actually the supervisor.
Excuse me. Sorry, Daryn.
Equity, Inclusion, and World Languages.
There you go. Thank you. I didn't have it before. Thank you. I just want to, before we start, just wanted to note that today's program is sponsored by Nick DeMeglio and Berkshire Hathaway Home Services at 44 Princeton Heightstown Road in Princeton Junction. Whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, call Nick DeMeglio at 732-828-9403 and let him put his experience to work for you. And we're thanking Nick for this sponsorship of the program. Like I said, actually, we're going to be joined by Dr. Ravalli and Daryn Plummer. And PJ, this is an issue that's been, I think, top tier in terms of the school board for a long time now. And it's been a little controversial among the school board, among the school board members themselves. This issue, this whole idea of the
necessity of
and the existence of institutional racism within Franklin schools. So we're going to get a little bit more about that from Dr. Ravalli. But I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yes.
All right. So without further ado, let's bring in Daryn and Dr. Ravalli. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to the Franklin Reporter and Advocate News Hour.
Thanks for having us, Bill.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Bill. Thanks for having us, PJ. We're looking forward to the conversation.
Okay, well, Dr. Ravalli,
for taking your very valuable time to address this very significant issue for Franklin.
Exactly. And Dr. Ravalli is on a bit of a time crunch with us, so we're going to start off with him. And my first question really is, I guess if you could give us a little backgrounder on this and why did the board feel it was necessary to create this position?
Yeah, so we recommended the position at this point in time because of the robust plans that we've developed over a period of time. Actually, we just met today, Daryn and a whole group, our district-wide equity team, finalizing, I won't say finalizing, I don't know if it's ever final, but putting more detail to what's already a 52-page action plan around 4 different domains of anti-racism, cultural and linguistic responsiveness, equity literacy, and school belonging. So, we as like in all our other programs, whether it be a gifted and talented program or a bilingual program, when you have a robust program or series of action steps put together, in order to ensure fidelity and consistent implementation, it's important to have oversight and supervision. So the recommendation was to create this position with that in mind. Now that we've arrived at this place, we want to make sure that our action plan that so many have worked so hard on will be implemented with fidelity and consistency and monitored, and accountability across the district will be there as well with somebody supervising the program. And in addition to that, there's some world language duties as well. I don't know how closely you've followed that, but over recent years, and I can only speak for my bit of time here, we have worked really hard to develop a world language program as well that involves, even at the elementary level, world language specialists working with our students. And that's evolved over years as well, over the recent years. And so we have, that'll be part of Daryn's responsibility as well, to continue the growth there and also make sure that there's fidelity to what has been started over the last few years.
Okay. I just want to do a little personal note, folks, for those of you watching and who will be watching later. That panting you hear, you really are hearing panting. It's one of our dogs. It's sitting in my lap right now. He kind of freaks out when it rains and thunderstorms. And as you know, we've just been through a massive thunderstorm. Dr. Ravalli, I guess the more precise question I should have asked you was, what led to the creation of those programs over which Daryn is going to be the supervisor?
Yeah, and that's also a great question. So a needs assessment led us to, I'm going to work backwards, right? Mm-hmm. We have this plan. What led us to the plan was a needs assessment. What led us to the needs assessment was data, right? We really, over those first few years here, worked with our staff to get a better understanding for how to disaggregate data in with an equity lens, which is different than what we typically are trained to do, right? Where although that is changing, but we typically look at state data and compare our school performance to state data, and maybe we look at it even at the DOE level. They take and find comparative peer schools and compare your test data and all sorts of other data, absenteeism and disciplinary data, and they compare it to schools that are like you. What we've been working on, what we worked on early on, was the development of a process that has folks looking at data with an equity lens, which means we look at it for disproportionality. So we look at our overall demographic, and we look at enrollment in AP and honors courses, for example. And we say, okay, is that data that we have in enrollment data, is that proportional to what our demographic data is? And so, that is a matter of training and professional development. And what happens is now you start to identify areas where you may have systematic issues. You may have institutional issues, policy issues, practice issues. So that data leads you to, okay, now that we've identified areas, so honors and AP courses, for example, we saw, disproportionality there. Disciplinary data, we see disproportionality there. Referral data, we might see disproportionality there. So now the next steps are, okay, well, how do you address those issues? Well, that's where more folks need to become involved, right? We need to hear the voices of our students. We need to hear the voices of our parents. We need to hear the voices of our faculty members. We need to hear the voices of our community, and that's work and time. And so what happens is, you embark on this grandiose needs assessment, and you hear from all of those folks, and you start to quickly identify the kinds of things that might help you address what might become barriers to really resolving those issues and getting more proportionality, if you will, or programs adjusted to what they should be. And that's leads you to then the development of a plan, and a plan that is systematic and strategic and developed after hearing all of those voices with the folks who will carry out the plan. And that's what we've been doing. And again, that's not an overnight process. And to arrive at what I had said earlier now has become about a 52-page plan, divided into 4 domains. The 4 domains I had mentioned earlier: anti-racism, culture and linguistic, responsiveness, equity, literacy, and school belonging are all areas that our needs assessment said, hey, these are domains you need to address, and then from there we have developed goals within those domains and action steps to address those goals. Things like, and if I'm going on too long, Bill, but
go ahead. I just want to, just for a second, I just want to acknowledge that we've been joined by Walter Jackson, who is a member of the Board of Education, and can give us some more insight into this position as well. But hi, Walter, how you doing?
Okay.
Good. Go ahead, Dr. Ravalli, and continue.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, like in the anti-racism domain, for example, when we speak to that, we're talking about curriculum audits, and some of what Daryn would be doing then is he's not going to actually audit every curriculum, but what he would do is maybe help folks to develop a rubric that would allow us, like we do for other things, audit the curriculum, looking for certain aspects in the curriculum that might be of concern. You know, which I'm sure he might speak to, but things like, you know, the contributions of making sure our history curriculum acknowledges the contributions of minorities and making sure that you know we assess in multiple ways and our assessments aren't biased in any way. And you know, these are the kinds of activities that we're speaking about in, you know, maybe the domain of anti-racism. And school belonging is, you know, there may be action steps in there. If you want students to feel more of a sense of belonging, then we have to better understand and be more welcoming to the students that are entering through our doors. So, you know, that could be professional training, could be an action step there. And those are the kinds of things that, again, a supervisor would be overseeing, making sure that, you know, those kinds of action steps are happening and are happening with fidelity. And then more importantly, rather, that he's constantly mining the data with that equity lens to make sure if we need to make further adjustments because we're not getting any movement, that we do that. So,
Okay.
I know it's a pretty long answer, but
No, that's fine.
That was perfect. That was perfect.
Yeah. Just real quick, I know we only got you for like 2 more minutes, but is this program, is Franklin leading the way in this, at least in Somerset County, if not in the state? Do you know?
Well, I can say that we're one of the front runners for sure. Where you know, we are not alone, and there are other districts that are working with us. I will share with you that I do belong to a network of superintendents that work on this, that do this type of work on a regular basis, called the New Jersey Network of Superintendents. It was originally sponsored, it's a professional learning group, originally sponsored by the Panasonic Foundation. And we used to meet up in the Panasonic building in Newark. But you know, we've since then taken that on the road, and we've kind of taken ownership of the New Jersey Network of Superintendents ourselves. And but you know, it's just a professional learning group, and you know, Dr. Logren is now part of that. Daryn will be in on some of those meetings going forward. And the idea behind that is that we all hold each other accountable as school districts to keep the work pushing forward. Yes, do I think there's others that are doing similar work to us, but we hope that we can, you know, be a model for those that aren't yet.
Great. I'm sorry, PJ, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
For you, Dr. Rivali, before you have to run.
Yeah.
The Franklin Reporter has been in Franklin Township for almost 8 years, and we have lived here for even longer than that. The issue of multiculturalism has always been present, and with over 60 languages spoken in the schools alone, this is a factor that is not something that is new. My question is, why now? Have there been incidents reported that have just made it impossible to ignore the fact that there is now an admission from the school board specifically that yes, there is systemic racism throughout the system, and yes, we are now addressing it? That's part one. Part two, is there student engagement involved in this programming where the feedback of the students who are actually living the results of these conditions are being met and being received well, with their feedback having an impact on the procedure of the program?
So part one, you know, I certainly, you outdate me with regard to the relationship to the school district. So I can only speak for my time here. Mm-hmm. And during my time here and working alongside of the folks, I can only tell you that we've always paid attention, and what we wanted to do was take a very scientific approach to identifying where our biggest problems were. And so I think what you're seeing here is a very systematic approach, a very detailed approach to making a difference within our school district, all starting with first a deep dive into the data to find out where we might have our largest issues. So again, I can't speak prior to this, but I can tell you we've been working on this. This is not you don't land on a 52-page action plan overnight.
Right. Of course,
This is years in the making. And we've talked about it, and we've had other initiatives along the way, including our Equal Opportunity Schools initiative at the high school several years ago that dealt with AP and honors course enrollment. So I think we've recognized at least since I've been here, I think the school board has recognized, I think we all recognize that not only here unique to our school district, but across the state and across the nation, that there are problems within education. And, we can only control our little piece of that here in Franklin. And that's what we've been attempting to do over the last several years. So I'm not so sure that this is as new as one might think. This plan, the arrival at this plan, and the plan we're talking about is the product of lots of work that's been ongoing. So, and then the second part of your question, refresh my memory, if you will.
Well, basically, the students are the end recipients of the largesse of this program. And I was curious as to whether or not they are being engaged in any sort of a focus group setting where they can express without fear what goes on a daily level, that they can contribute perhaps on just in a real mode as to, look, this happens. You have to do something about that. We've heard personally of incidents that go on. It would be refreshing to include the students, being that they are the end users of any of these programs.
And we call that student voice. And I think we have, over recent years, gotten better at opening our ears and listening more attentively to our students. I think that's always been a problem in education, again, not listening hard enough. I think you may know, you may not know, we started youth action participatory groups several years ago, and those youth groups are designed just for that. What they do is action research projects to address issues within the school, within the community, and then they go ahead and present that information to folks like us, the school board. We actually had them at school board meetings where, I think that might have been, pre-pandemic 2-3 years ago. At least 2 years ago, they were there presenting on several different issues, this being one of them. And, of course, the bell schedule and some other issues that they raised and we talked about. So, and by the way, their voice was instrumental during the pandemic. So many things we thought, adults thought, educators as, educational leaders in the district, we thought might be the right thing to do. Our students shared with us in meetings how that might not be the case. And a small example might have been where we really talk a lot about, every kid having to be on camera, and that being, in a virtual world, what we need. And our kids convinced us differently. So although some school districts required that to happen, in our school district, we didn't. And a lot of that came from the voice of our students. So we do see that as important. And Daryn will continue that. Another very important reason for having a supervisor in this position, so that we do have somebody who can not only serve to make sure there's fidelity to a plan, but also can serve as a liaison to the students, so that Daryn can get in and out of classrooms and see what's going on and hear from students, so we can make necessary changes as we move along.
Yes. Well, that would also lead me into why Daryn. I mean, I have my own reasons for applauding your choice. In that Daryn and his wife Adrian Plummer, along with Rebecca and Nick Solomon, were the creators of Warriors for Life, the student foundation for scholarships. And what has always impressed me, and Daryn, you're probably going to have to correct me because I'll get the verbiage wrong, but your credo is every child is only one adult away from success. And that I can't think of anyone who was better connected to a student mindset, and especially on this issue. So I certainly am looking forward to your selection. And as also on a personal note from the Franklin Reporter and Advocate with Adrian and the Solomons, that you were one of our persons of the year for 2019. And for all of the above reasons, I'm looking forward to your development of this position. So thank you, Dr. Ravalli, for appointing Daryn in that position and appointing him to this position.
Yeah, well, and I know you've got to leave, Dr. Ravalli.
Sure.
Thank you for sticking around, but I wanted to get this question in from Curtis Valentine.
Absolutely.
Of how this emphasis is going to impact teachers in the classroom.
Right, and that is an excellent question, because if we're not taking what we've spent so much time planning on paper and connecting it to the classroom, then we're not doing our job, right? We're not going to come near to impacting the data the way we want to impact the data and provide the opportunity and make the experience what we want to make the experience for the kids. So that piece is usually important. And how do you do that? Well, just exactly what I said, the kinds of things. How is it better for a student, and how does it make it to the classroom? Well, in the area of, anti-racism, if, one of the concerns and one of the things we heard through a needs assessment and hearing from our kids was about, making sure that we're highlighting and making part of our curriculum the achievements of our and successes of those from minority groups who have changed history, and we're not having that as part of our history curriculum. Well, then that's not making it to the classroom. So by auditing the curriculum and making sure there's inclusion there, then that makes it to the classroom, and that impacts the students, right? Sense of belonging. If we're not doing the kinds of training we need, such as culturally relevant linguistic pedagogy, which we've been working with, and Daryn can talk more about that in the next 30 minutes or so, however long you have with him. If we haven't been working so hard with our teachers, and we'll continue to work hard with our teachers on CRP training, then it will be more difficult for us to create that sense of belonging that's so important to make sure students have an opportunity to reach their potential. So I think to answer that question, Daryn, as he gets into his responsibilities, I think it'll become crystal clear how what we're talking about and what he will make reality, and how he will work to connect what we're talking about to the teachers in the classroom, how that will then have the impact on the students. So.
Okay, great. Well, Dr. Ravelli, I want to thank you for staying longer than you said you would. But
yeah. Well, it's not that. It's now I'm going to be late for my 5 o'clock, because it is 5 o'clock. But that's okay.
We're about 5 minutes away. So
yeah,
anyway, but thank you so much for coming on and
appreciate it. Thank
giving
you
us
very much.
Yes, you are in wonderful hands, and I want to say hi to Mr. Jackson before I leave. Thank you for joining, Mr. Jackson. And you're in wonderful hands with Daryn and PJ for all the reasons. I never did get to answer your question, but for all the reasons you listed is why Daryn ended up getting the recommendation for the position, because he is the right fit, and he will be the difference maker. We truly believe that. And we look forward to the exciting things he's going to be able to help us get accomplished in the next several years. And I'm going to leave you with this, and I know sometimes I get going, Bill, and I apologize. But I think one of the things we talked about, and the other thing I didn't want to miss, is we want to make a difference. We want to put things in place that make a better experience for our kids, especially our underserved population, especially our minority population, our African American students, our Hispanic students. We want to make sure we're putting things in place that make the experience better and will provide a better, more opportunity for them. But we want it to outlast Mr. Plummer, Dr. Ravalli, Dr. Logren, whatever school board members we have. We want to make the kind of change that will outlast us all. So, part of Daryn's role is going to be to build capacity in the system to ensure that happens, right? For lack of better terms, we don't want a flash in the pan kind of problem solving here. We want systematic change that outlasts those that are helping to implement it, and a system in place that allows it to become ongoing and adjust as necessary. That's another reason for the rationale behind recommending the position and working so hard with the school board to fit that in this upcoming school year budget. I'll leave you with that.
Right.
Thanks for giving me the time to make sure I said that. And if you need anything else, I'm only a phone call away.
Will do. Thank you very much, Dr. Ravalli.
Thank you, Dr. Ravalli. Thank you so much.
participation. And we will be talking to you soon. Dr. John Ravalli, everybody. Thank you. I wish I had a little thing I could push for applause, but we don't have that yet. Take care. All right. That was very interesting. What I'd like to do, if you can bear with us for a little bit, Daryn, I want to step up with Walter Jackson. Hi, Walter. How are you?
Good.
Coming to us from Green Wave territory, are you?
No, actually, I'm at the SGS. I had dropped Chloe for the Shrek rehearsal.
Oh, she's in Shrek? Okay. As Daryn is representing right now.
Very well. The meet Katina drove to the meet. It got canceled because of the thunderstorms.
Oh, because of the storm. Okay. Yes. Yeah. That's my home city, by the way, Long Branch. Anyway, what I wanted to do with you is sort of continue that thread that we started with Dr. Ravalli in terms of the background, from your perspective. And Katina actually did write a question that's very good, and I want to maybe you can work the answer into what I'm going to ask. And Katina rightfully asks, what will the administration say to the naysayers in our district who do not believe in nor support this innovative position and stance? So if you could just give us a little bit more insight into, at least over the course of time you've been on the board, what went into the development of, the development of these programs, and what was the necessity seen? And then maybe talk about why Daryn is the best guy for this job.
Well, I mean, as we know, there's numerous change going on in the world. I think I've mentioned it on numerous board meetings that we can't deny what's going on in the world. I mean, corporations are making changes, and they're implementing diversity and equity inclusion protocols. So why wouldn't we, as a school district, also want to do that? And people talk about Franklin. I rave about Franklin and our district and the wonderful job that our administrators are doing, our teachers are doing, and just the love and the diversity that we share in this district. I mean, I brag about it. And as perfect as a district some would seem that we are, we still need to be in the forefront of making change and being aware of what's going on and not being scared to go out there and do something about it. So I commend everyone on the board who saw fit to look at systemic racism and white supremacy and things like this and say that, you know what, we need to step up and be an example. And from Katina's question, there are naysayers. They will always be naysayers, but we can't be afraid as a district when the majority of the folks, in my opinion, want to see us step up and do something about it. So for the naysayers, I hope they see what the bigger picture is. I hope that they really truly understand what our district is about, and how we want to go out here and change the world, and be an example for other districts, and to follow suit. It's not that hard. If we can rave about our district being as diverse as we are, and I know PJ and Bill, you guys saw it this summer with the Black Lives Matter marches in Franklin. This the diversity of everybody who came out, and the love that everyone shared for what they felt was done wrong, and how they wanted to utilize their voice. And we all came together, and you guys broadcasted that many times to really see how we came together as a district. So we can come together as a district on things that we are really concerned about. I think it's perfect that we continue to come as a district and stand strong as a district on things such as this matter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think leading by example, if those marches were not the epitome of leading by example, there was no other example to lead by. I continue to speak of Jasmine and Braun, who led this entire effort. It was May 31st, a year ago.
Yeah.
And I remember so clearly her standing in the parking lot at the middle school saying, "This is about peace. It's about anger. It's about that which is not just. But if you are here to be violent, you must leave now. We're here to make a difference. We're here to be angry, absolutely, and it's justified, but we're going to do it in a peaceful manner, and we will lead by example." And that is exactly what happened. Every square footage of everything that we filmed showed nothing but that. Outrage, but peace. Outrage, but respect. When we traveled down Easton Avenue, cars were stopping and waving and cheering and holding out banners of support. And it was the recognition of that which was absolutely wrong. And this is, it was such a fine example of protest and what protest can do to set the path to right wrongs.
Right.
And that I'm always so proud of this district on just so many levels because of the diversity and the respect for it that goes on. Naysayers, yes, there will be naysayers, but denying a truth does not negate the truth.
Right.
And that's what we're dealing with. And I applaud the district for going ahead with this finally.
Yes.
I just want to put a little program note in there. Talking about Jasmine, Jazzy B. We will be next Saturday, Juneteenth at 1 p.m. Yeah, 1 p.m. at Neiman Williams Park. There is scheduled to be a Juneteenth commemoration, and that is being headed by Jazzy B, who was the leader of the very first and I think the largest Black Lives Matter related march through town. So I'm going to ask you, Walter, the same question that I'm going to ask Daryn in a little bit. Kind of gives him a little edge because he can think about it. But in your opinion, and you have kids who have gone and are going through the system right now.
Yes.
Is there institutional racism within Franklin Township schools?
Yes, there is. From a personal standpoint, I could say that my kids have had and still continue to have some absolutely amazing teachers and administrators who help guide them in the right direction. So on a personal note, I haven't had any personal encounters with this at Franklin. Me and my wife are very active in terms of anything and everything that our kids do. I think that's important to show the administration that you want to be involved. I think that makes a big difference. But it does exist. Like Dr. Ravalli mentioned before, there were some studies that were done with some things that were noticed and some disparities which do exist. And I'm glad that we took the time to recognize those disparities and put forth the plan to do something about them. So we will shed more light to the disparities that do exist, and work around and do things that we can to correct them. I think giving and appointing Mr. Plummer this position is absolutely amazing. He is definitely someone who gets respect of all nationalities, of all races, ages. Everyone loves him. So to appoint him this position, I know he's excited about it just as we are. And of course, there will be challenges. But I know that with the support of the non-naysayers, he's going to do an absolutely amazing job.
Mm-hmm. What for you, from your perspective, what about Daryn's background in the district and maybe just in life in general? What about his background did you think made him perfect for what is essentially an historic position in Franklin Township?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
What in your personal view, what about Daryn's background made in your thoughts made him perfect for this job?
Daryn's humble. He's humble. He's very supportive, and of course, he is indeed a warrior for life, and established a foundation that's actually giving back to not just Black and brown kids. He's putting forth and working to give scholarships and make scholarships available for everyone. So to have someone like him who can work with everyone, and to go out there and to do the work. He's been around. He's respected, and when I look at him and I look at the role that he has, it's a role that's needed, and it's a role that I know that he'll come in and get his hands dirty as much as he has to, but the support is there. And like you had asked Dr. Ravalli, there's a lot of students, there's a lot of administrators, there's a lot of teachers who see that there is indeed something that needs to be done. So I believe that Daryn is the right person that can come in here and to make things happen. And like Dr. Ravalli said, we don't want this just to be something that happens and Daryn's gone, Dr. Ravalli's gone, the administrators are gone. We want this to be something that continues to linger on throughout Franklin. We want this to be something that once we come in here and make our mark, that it's a mark that's going to be permanent, because we want to be a world changer. We want to be a district that people can look at and say, wow, like they get it, right. Because it's so sad that people still don't get it, aren't trying to get it, and still right. trying to fight what doesn't. It doesn't need to be a fight. Like if we can continue to love on each other, like we have been doing, we're just doing what the rest of the world is doing, because everybody at this point, like I said, they're recognizing and noticing what's going on. So right. why not be a part of that? We definitely right. wouldn't want to be a district who clearly, like some districts, if you look in the news, are doing, don't want to talk about it, don't want to be about it. They're trying to ignore it and act like it doesn't exist. We can't do right. that, because our kids aren't stupid. Like they know, they honestly, they know what's going on more than we do. So
right. There seems to be a movement. I got an email earlier today, in fact, from Brookdale Community College, which is down in Lincroft in Monmouth County, and they just appointed their very first director of diversity and inclusion. So it's something that's going up and down academia, I suppose. Yeah. And to your point, Walter, of diversity, I mean, I've covered Franklin High School graduation since, I guess, 2014, right? Yeah, 2014, because 2013 we started in August, it was too late. Right. But anyway, every single speaker, every single student speaker at every one of those graduations has said one of the things they valued most of their time at Franklin High School was the diversity. Mm-hmm. and how they learn to get along with people from other cultures. Speaking personally, I went to a high school. It was a Catholic college prep high school. It was predominantly white. There were one or two people of color when I was there in the late 70s. So I didn't get that. I didn't get that experience really. I mean, obviously in grammar school I did because I went to culturally diverse schools there, but it wasn't emphasized. I didn't get that sort of experience until I went to Livingston College, Rutgers University, and then, man, I mean, my eyes were wide open at that point, and it was great because I met people from all over the place, and you know, different cultures from just within our country, let alone other countries. So that's great. PJ, have anything you wanted to ask Walter?
You have 3 children in the system.
Yes.
3 wonderfully talented, diverse, articulate, athletic, and speaking of humble, girls who are excelling, each on their own talent. Have they had any issues that they've reported to you where they have felt that diversity has not worked for them?
No. I mean, we're blessed that my kids have none of the girls have ever came home and said that a teacher looked at them or treated them a certain kind of way because of the color of their skin and felt uncomfortable or felt that another kid in their class was getting special treatment because of the color of their skin. So we've been very fortunate and blessed. And like I mentioned, I think it you know, not every household has the time to give as much as they want to in terms of being available for their kids. So I think with some of the things that we're trying to implement, if there are disparities, we want to recognize those and find those out. But my kids have had any issues, and I commend the individuals and the administration and teachers that they have been that they've had that have helped guide them in the right direction. I'll never forget when Tiana was in middle school. Mr. Smil had asked her about AP classes. You know, you should think about taking AP classes. And
now, what exactly is AP?
AP honors classes. And you know, at the time, I don't think it was anything specifically that she was looking at doing, but just the fact that this administrator took the time to see about her and to inquire, encouraged her to actually sought out and take those honors and AP classes. And so I think that this district has administrators and teachers who really care about our students. And I think me and Katina were fortunate to have teachers in our path that actually really cared about our students. So I thank God. I'm originally from Cleveland. I went to a Catholic high school, all boys. My graduation class had 87 boys that graduated, and out of the 87 boys that graduated, there were only 16 blacks. So, and then after that, I went to Hampton University at HBCU and got a different experience. But then coming to New Jersey and moving to Franklin, I didn't feel out of place. My family didn't feel out of place. We were welcome immediately, and we continued to stay in Franklin. And I think we continue to stay in Franklin because we love our district. We love what our district has done for us in terms of the support, and we definitely want to give it back.
Very cool.
And that's extraordinary coming from you and your family, considering that you have personally been touched by the most horrific racism that could be. So I appreciate that you have appreciated and felt welcomed in a community that is celebrating diversity. And where it is not celebrated, that there is action about to be taken.
Exactly. And speaking of that action, let's turn the camera to the more or less, I guess, the man of the hour, Mr. Daryn Plummer. Do
And I
you?
have a canine issue. Excuse
Okay,
me.
take care of it. Take care of it. We have two dogs. Neither one of them, the one who's thankfully now sleeping on my lap, really can't handle thunder. The other guy is a little more chill, but he still gets excited, as dogs do. Anyway, excuse me, Daryn. Let me ask you this: do you have any sense of the sense of history that this board has put on your shoulders right now?
I do, and it's a humbling thing, but it's also an appreciative thing, because as you guys know, I'm from Franklin, so having a broad historical view, right? My father can tell me stories about riots in Franklin High School when he was there, and to see, the township, the school district grow, become more diverse as as I'm in high school, become an educator, and where we are now to really addressing some systemic things is very, very gratifying for me and fulfilling. So I am in a moment of great fulfillment in my career right now. But this is just the beginning, and we got a lot of work to do. And every time I talk to anybody about this time, right, I always say many hands make light work. We're always going to do this work together. This conversation on the Franklin Reporter, the connection with families like the Jacksons and board members, community members. Right, we're all going to do this work together, grow together, learn together, and come closer as a community.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So if you can maybe give us an idea of what your philosophy is going into this position, if you even had time to think about it.
Absolutely. No, it's really began with the really study and research on disproportionality, right? When you're starting conversations on, culture, diversity, race, right? There's four kind of areas you can go in, four areas that conversation can go on. You can go intellectual, where you're looking at the data and moving from that point. You can go social, right to action, right? This is something that we need to attack and take action on. You can go to moral, right? This is right is right and right is wrong, wrong is wrong. And then you can also go to the emotional place, right, where it just hits the heart. When you're in an educational space, I think a lot of times you have to rely on that data piece first. And when we really delved into the disproportionality in AP and honors classes, G&T, graduation rates, how many students from ESL were being referred to advanced classes, right? So many things to dive into, right? The over referral of students of color and to CST, right? Those are things that don't show up as those overt, racist acts, right? But it's institutionalized in education. And when we look at Franklin, people say, this can't be happening in Franklin, right? Franklin is in, the education system. The education system is in America, just like economics, housing, banking, right? All those pieces make up our society. And I think what we're focusing on now is ways to, systemically address a lot of the things that we notice.
Mm-hmm. If you can give us a little bit of that history. You mentioned your dad went to Franklin. When was he there? When was he here?
Graduated in 76.
76. Okay, so he came up. I like to call it the age of awareness. When you get to a certain age, and then you finally wake up and you see things around you. So he was coming up through that civil rights era.
Oh yeah, him, my dad, his friends could tell me when they were walking through the hallways and police had to be in the hallways because of, friction between students.
Between racial.
Right. And just to see, and just to know the history, the administrators, the teachers that have come before to, help pave the way in that regard for, students of color, our community as a whole. I stand on huge shoulders, and I'm blessed to be in a position to continue to do that type of work.
Okay. Now, and you went to high school in the 90s, right?
Yes, graduated in 97. But like you and Walter, I did go to a Catholic elementary school. I went to St. Peter's Elementary in New Brunswick when it was still open.
Right. But you went to Franklin High School. Franklin
High School, correct.
Okay. Now, did you have that same issue by the 90s? Was that still an issue? Was there still that racial tension?
Again, very, very diverse. Friend group, a lot of different friend groups. But at the same regard, like the interaction outside in the community, families, right? How many different dinner tables did I sit at? So Franklin is a great place because I love how our students, and when I would have conversations with Tiana when she was in high school when I was working there, and they would talk about how diverse and how much they can learn from each other and grow from each other. I would like to see the same type of growth happen as we become adults and we get into our own lives. I think that can happen a lot more.
Okay.
Well, the spirit of Warrior for Life Foundation is exactly that.
Right.
That I remember speaking with you and Adrian and Rebecca and Nick about the genesis of Warrior for Life, that you felt that the four of you had been offered that kind of support by adults throughout your educational experience in Franklin Township, and this was your way of giving back. And I can see that there's an obvious connection between that thought process and what you're about to embark upon.
No doubt about it. It's from a former principal here, Mr. Carl Wade. He always says the potential of your community is in your young people, and that's
right.
Across families, races, religions, cultures. Right. What we want to pour into all of our young people and plant those seeds, because the garden we have here in Franklin, we want those seeds to grow. And even if they go on and, have careers and lives in other places, when they get an opportunity, right, we want to charge them with, all right, you have the same opportunity to help somebody else here.
Exactly. The same responsibility.
Right.
All right. I just want to point out, we do indeed have police officers in Franklin schools these days, but I think for a totally different reason. We don't have the racial issues going on, but it's just because of circumstances of things that have happened in schools across the country. I think the school board, and I think Walter, you back me up on that. The school board felt the need to do the class, to take advantage of the new class 3s and police officers stationed in the schools.
Yes.
I wanted to bring up a question that one of our viewers posed a few minutes ago. Rose Ray, is this new position bringing something to light or bringing something to life? And please define the problem, the reason why this initiative is so desperately needed. I think that's an interesting thought. Is this bringing something to light or something to life? What do you think?
I would say that's an and in both, right? And because it's a learning journey, right? If anybody is in this work, right, diversity, inclusion, right, it's an ongoing journey. And when we look and learn the research on disproportionality and what that means for, right, we're talking about education in our district, but like Walter mentioned, corporations are doing it. Different industries are recognizing. I just was listening to the conversation about management in the NBA. So to take those views and to use that disproportionality data to really bring light and bring life to resolutions and strategies to create better proportionalities or fairness in those proportionalities, I think is what anybody wants to look to. and that's right across anybody who's listening, right? Your industry, your job, your corporation, right? You should be talking to your HR and saying, right, what's our disproportionality? What is, how can I become involved, right? How can I connect to a community organization that's, doing the same type of work? I think, going back to the phrase, many hands think like work. When we're all focused or have a equity lens, that's what having an equity lens talks to.
Mhm, mhm. So, do you see the issue as being school-based, or do you see for example, it's been a long time, and I have the stats. I just haven't done anything with them. While the schools are majority minority, the students, I should say, teachers and administrators, for the most part, are white. And there are some folks in academia who see a problem with that. And their argument is that kids need to see people who look like them in positions of authority, because it gives them the idea that they can do the same thing. Is that something that you're going to be that you're going to try to address? I mean, I know it's a very difficult nationwide problem, but is this something that you think you can address?
So I think there's a huge opportunity in that arena. And I think PJ brought up the question around, are we listening to our students?
Mm-hmm.
And when, right, the murder of George Floyd happened, and our district was thinking about a response to hear from our students and our families, our students voiced that, right? Right, having our teachers educated on the issues that affect us in our lives, our administrators being educated on the issues that are affect us in our lives. So the opportunity in that is for everyone involved, administrators and teachers alike, to really delve into the societal issues, right, that affect families, students, and how to build that professional development and that pedagogy to facilitate students having the opportunity to talk about those things in the classroom within their curriculum. So that's one piece of that, but also to look at the systemic issue of, having a lesser pool of Black educators. And I saw a question from a fellow alum, Curtis Valentine, who has an initiative, Real Men Teach, to give scholarships to Black male educators because it's needed, right? To increase the pool of Black educators, Black male educators across the nation. So, and it does, research shows, right, having one teacher of color for a student of color increases their scores, increases attendance, increases engagement. And then the flip side of that is that for students that are not of color, to have that perspective from somebody that doesn't look like them, a worldview. So those things combined, I think there's a huge opportunity for both. And we've embarked on that journey with culturally and linguistically responsive pedagogy with our teachers, but also focus on, increasing our connection to HBCUs and specific teacher education programs in New Jersey locally that are focused on diversity and creating pipelines for educators of color.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
I have a.
Go ahead, Peach. No, go ahead.
There are a couple of things and I'll throw them at you all at once, and I don't expect you to address them all at once, but the Board of Education has recently, and only recently, admitted that yes, within the system, there is absolutely systemic racism. What exactly happened? I mean, can you name incidents that pointed to the necessity of a creation of a position such as this to get the community, in essence, on board with it? And what issues on or of equity or inequity are present in Franklin Township schools.
Give me that second piece again. I didn't hear that second
What
piece.
issues of equity? I mean, the position that you have assumed now is the Supervisor of Equity, Inclusion, and World Languages. If you could define what equity means within the context of the school systems, and it's the absence of equity, I think is the issue, and what instances have brought that to light, leading to the necessity of a position that you're now running.
So a lot of the issues that we just kind of touched upon, the disproportionality in what our students look like versus what our, teaching staff looks like. And that's a national issue, right? That's not in Franklin. A lot of these things are national issues that are that's not in Franklin. Our disproportionality rates of, our students of color in AP and honors classes and G&T, overrepresentation of referrals for CST, or special education.
What is CST?
I'm sorry, Child Study Team.
Okay.
And they deal with individualized education plans, being referred to special education. So these are national problems, part of educational system, but things specifically we want to address here in Franklin Township.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that's because students are not desiring to be included, or because they feel that they can't be included? What is at the bottom of this?
So you're hitting on some big questions, PJ.
Huge.
Because one thing we found out with the partnership with Equal Opportunity Schools, when we were looking at why we had a disproportionality in AP classes, and it was for a multitude of reasons. And it wasn't until we identified the students that grade point average wise and testing score wise, and then their background on being a student, right? Their grit, their tenacity, determination, right? We brought this information to them and said, you are eligible to be part of advanced placement classes or an honors class. Mm-hmm. And that goes into some psychology, right? Why wouldn't a student, why wouldn't a family think that they belong in an honors and advanced placement class?
Exactly.
And then, once they're in the class, how do they feel, right? Are they welcome? Is there the environment for them to grow while they're in that environment? And those are
a nurturing environment,
right? So we talk a lot about adaptive challenges versus technical challenges, right? It's a technical challenge to look at grade point averages, AP scores of a student and say, all right, you meet the criteria. The adaptive challenges are the mindsets, the environment, the training, the professional development that go along with, making these changes.
So it's not always the question of the aptitude or the skill set. It's the will I fit in?
That's a piece of it, right? That's a piece of it. And then it's for, staff as well, right? I'm a staff member. I want to become an administrator, right? What does the administrators in our district look like? Can I do this, right? Do I feel like my work environment is, it supports me in that, right? So it's those adaptive challenges, which are a large part of what our district equity plan is addressing.
So this can't, I'm sorry, I just want to bring Walter in on this real quick. That aspect of what's going on in the schools can't rest solely on Daryn's shoulders, right, Walter? I mean, the school board has a role to play in addressing that disproportionality in terms of district administrators and teachers, right?
Right. And I'm sorry.
Did you get it? Did we
Hear
lose
me,
you?
Bill?
There's a little latency going on.
Yeah, I meant, sorry, can you repeat that?
Gotta love technology. Did you get the question, or should I repeat it?
Yeah, if you can repeat it, please. Thank you.
Sure. What I was saying was that the responsibility for addressing what we were talking about with Daryn doesn't rest solely on his shoulders, I don't think. I believe the school board has a role to play also in addressing the disproportionality in teachers, the teaching staff, and the administrative staff in the schools, right? Would you agree?
Right. Yeah, would agree.
Okay.
And one thing, if you look, what I can commend our district on now, if you look, just about every school level, from elementary to even at one point in the high school, we currently have vice principals and principals of color. On every level, and that's a beautiful thing to see that from the top, and it is a national outcry, unfortunately, that there is a need for minority teachers, and I think as a district we're doing our part to push for that. We're doing our part to continue to, like Mr. Plummer, keep it in house. You have these warriors for life who are actually indeed warriors for life, because they come back, and once they graduate, they want to give back and be a part of our district and our school system. So now it's just a matter of looking and searching and reaching out, encouraging current young individuals who are seeking to get into education, to when that time comes and the opportunity comes for them to actually give back, to give back and come back to Franklin.
Right. I'm sorry,
it's I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's work to be done, and it's we see the signs just about at every school. Teachers need it. It's just a world outcry that there are indeed educators needed, and if a lot of those educators can look like me, that'll be great. But unfortunately, it's something we're lacking.
Yeah. Okay. PJ, I'm sorry. Did you have something you wanted to ask?
Yes, I did. I'm going to ask Daryn, what are your first steps? What can you do now?
I mean, that's already in the works. We've been, I think, a really jumping off point to where we are now was last summer, when we decided to root everything in policy, right? And our shout out to Walter and everybody on the board that was part of helping us pass the anti-racism policy and regulations, because that's really what we leaned on when we were meeting as a district equity committee, filtering down into our subcommittees and saying, what does this work look like as we're breaking it up and spreading out the work that needs to be done. So rooting it in policy and accountability, so that we, continuously have check-ins, visit it annually, to make sure, right, we're on the right path, right? Well, some things we always grade, no. But with that, we know we're still going in the right direction, and we have an accountability measure on the areas that we want to look at, school belonging, anti-racism, culturally and linguistically responsive pedagogy, and equity literacy across the district. The dual position in my job is the world language supervisor, and I look at the work that we're doing in diversity inclusion and what's the basis of the lessons in world language, right? There's three domains, right? Interpretive, interpersonal, and presentational, right? A lot of us haven't had these conversations around diversity and race with each other, across culture, right? And we are interpreting, right, what it means for the first time, right? But once we are able to interpret it, understand what it means, historical views, then we're able to have these interpersonal relationships that make sense, and we become more aware, and we start moving in the right direction, and then we'll be able to present to more people, telling them what I'm learning from this person, what I'm learning from that person, and that's where we really continue to grow. We'll be able to grow and get some traction, not just as a school district, but as a community, and even larger than that.
Are there plans to have a student committee involved?
And that's one of the main goals, to keep this work based out of student voice. And like I said, that's where it started from when we had our Voice for Change outreach. We want students to continue to tell us what we need. All right. They said we want to see ourselves in the curriculum. We want not just the multicultural piece around Black history. That's multicultural education, learning about facts and figures from different cultures. But how is it infused into the curriculum throughout the year? And really delving into what's multicultural education versus social justice education, looking at issues that affect our students and families in our community now, and how do we bring ways to facilitate those conversations so the strategies and solutions come from the students because they're thinking about those things now. Those things are important.
They're living them.
Right.
That's a tremendous resource. And I guess a shameless plug for the Franklin Reporter and Advocate. We have a button on our front page where the entirety, except for advertising content, of the news value, any of the stories for the past almost 8 years, is convertible to 100 different languages. So I can see that. I'm not quite sure how in your world languages part of this position, there may be some value in integrating a news factor into this. And the Franklin Reporter is available in 100 different languages.
Listen, I'm going to call on that. I'm going to call on
by the flip of a button. And we did this knowing our community, and because we felt that was extraordinarily important to offer that, to offer someone, let's say from the West African community, whose mother lives in Nigeria, who wants to know what her children in this country are doing, but her language is not being represented. We felt that was essential. And again, I'm not trying to shamelessly plug the Franklin
Reporter, but that's a huge piece.
That kind of inclusion and addressing and honoring however many languages there are in this community.
That's a huge piece across language, culture, religion, all those things with our diversity are present in Franklin Township. And pro-humanity, pro-justice, are two things to, hang your hat on when you're thinking about, diversity and inclusion. What's a rising tide lifts all boats.
Right.
And to come into this work, being humbled by the opportunity to, serve so many that are diverse and that we are looking to include every day. Across languages, cultures, races, is huge, and I respect and am humbled by that opportunity.
Yeah, Paige, I think the kids call what you did there a subtle flex.
Subtle flex. Okay.
I do want to pause and do a shameless plug for
Absolutely.
Our cast and our director, Mrs. Seggio, Mrs. Ravansky, Mr. Strand, all the parents that help with the set. Please go out, support, go to our website, help support them, get the link. It's a live stream, so it's going to be a fantastic show. So take the time, get some popcorn, watch it with your families.
Absolutely.
Well, we're actually, one of our next stop is going to be the dress rehearsal tonight. So Franklin, you're paying attention. There'll be pictures. I don't know that we'll be able to live stream with Terry Seggio, but you'll get a sneak peek at how wonderful this is going to be. And I know if it's a Terry Seggio involvement, it's going to be stellar. She's
Always,
a remarkable director, a remarkable theater, music person, and she just has a way with her students. She loves them, and you feel that love in every one of her productions. So we're really excited to be giving you this little preview soon. So stay tuned, Franklin.
Yeah.
But
Well,
thank you for that shameless plug. That was
yes, no,
perfect.
and you can come on and shamelessly plug anything in the schools. We're more than happy to
Absolutely.
to be your megaphone for that, and as Walter knows, the same thing.
Yeah.
No.
This has been pretty all encompassing. Daryn, do you have anything else that you think folks ought to know about this position and this program that we haven't covered yet?
For me, I just want to, thank and shout out the many members on our district equity committee that have been doing the work behind the scenes. Community members like Derek Smith, alumni like Jada Pathea that have been catalysts and also contributors to what we want to do here in our community, in our district. And, the Franklin Reporter, our Board of Education, our central office. I'm so proud of the town that I've grown up in and live in now and work and have a family in. And I'm excited about the wind that's behind our back and in the face of challenges, obstacles that will occur. But however, I think, the support is tremendous. And like I said, many hands make light work. I'm actually embarrassed that, I'm being interviewed right now. If anybody knows me, they know that. I just know, I'm ready to lock arms and continue this walk for the inclusion and diversity of all of our students.
Right.
Speaking of the locking of arms, can you invite community participation if members of the community have questions or suggestions or have experienced situations where you need to address that? How does one become involved in that, and how does one reach you?
I would encourage everyone to visit our website, our district's website. There's a section called A Voice for Change. It has its own page. It talks about the work that our subcommittees are going to be doing, the community events that we're going to have. There's a comment section there that our communications subcommittee checks on a regular basis. So we do welcome that. And I'm not hard to find if you want to send me an email. But yeah, we welcome that, and we're looking to do future community events like the one we did with Doc Cunningham and the Friday Night Lights that talked about our district equity journey. Because like I said, it takes a village, right? That's a time-tested thing, right? It takes a village. It takes different perspectives. It takes conversations, courageous conversations. And, I'm looking forward to that journey.
And in Franklin, takes 8 villages.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was put out front, but I just wanted to just reemphasize that institutional racism isn't necessarily overt racism, right? It's not, what you see in the old 70s movies, right? It's not someone going up to someone else and calling them a name or whatever. I mean, it can be very, very subtle, right? As in I don't know, low graduation rates or the number of kids that are not of color who are not in the advanced placement courses, or the number of kids of color who are given suspensions or given
reprimands.
What do you call that?
You had a great point. Right? You're talking about an institutional policy that affects a certain race, right?
Exactly.
When sometimes the term institutional racism can be gaslighting, right? But it's to talk about an institutional policy that can affect a certain race. But those things happen across language, right? What institutional policy are affecting our students that speak a second language, right? Our LGBTQ community, right? What institutional policies are affecting them? right? It's really examining those things, saying they are present, and then examining them to see what's the best solution, and letting our students lead us in that, because they have the answers.
And let's not forget that inclusion is not just a racial thing.
Right.
Yes.
Inclusion is a lifestyle thing as well, right? So when you brought up the LGBTQ, I mean that's a very important part of this as well.
Absolutely.
But it's important to point out that that's not a style.
Right. Well, yeah. Pardon my
It's
language. What would we call that?
Who somebody is.
Who somebody is.
Who they are as an asset, right? All our students, they come to us with all their assets.
Exactly.
Right.
And that they're viewed as assets.
Right.
Right.
So, but what I just wanted to point out that it's not just racial. It's also it encompasses inclusion is inclusion.
Right.
Whoever you are, and everyone deserves to be treated fairly and equitably, and to be given the same opportunity to excel.
And that's really important. I'm glad you brought that up, the LGBTQ community. There's a disproportionate amount of suicide within young people in that community specifically, because it is not just an obvious issue to be dealt with on an equity level. The skin color is not their issue. Who they are fundamentally enters into it, and of course now it has been somewhat more relaxed in terms of acceptance of that diversity, but still it's even more closeted, and that community needs a forum and needs one adult to listen to them, to hear them, to value them. So I think I'm really happy that you brought that up.
Yeah, and I would hope every adult. We just talked about who someone is an asset, right? Asset to the person next to them, asset to someone who can learn from them, and really that's what the focus is, right? To hear our students' voice, and to hear their solutions and put some of those solutions into play.
Right.
Cool. Diversity is not colorblind, folks.
All right. Mr. Jackson, you have any closing thoughts?
I just once again wanted to congratulate Mr. Plummer. I'm excited to be on this board and to have a voice, and to utilize my voice for change, such as the role that Mr. Plummer is getting ready to fill. And I'm also excited that there are other board members who also agree on the work that needs to be done in Franklin, because that's very important. I guess sometimes you can see different boards who are bumping heads on change. I mean, change is scary, but it's definitely necessary, and it definitely should not be ignored when it's something that we are noticing across the nation. So I commend everyone in Franklin on the work that they're doing. I commend the Franklin Reporter and Advocate. I love you guys and the work that you're doing to show our district in the light that it needs to be shown, because we are shining bright, and you guys are doing a great job of covering everything. And
we appreciate that.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited about what Franklin is about to continue to do, and the work that we're about to do, and I'm excited to see how the students and everybody is affected by this, because it's definitely going to be something that's going to make an impact. And why not? We can make an impact, and I'm excited that we have individuals who are excited to be a part of the impact and the change that Franklin is going to make. Absolutely.
Exciting times in Franklin Township. And Mary Clark, who is I know her as the spokeswoman for the district. She's the policy, I guess, supervisor, administrator. I'm not quite sure what the exact title is, but she has given us the link for that Voices for Change webpage that Daryn was talking about. So we'll put an active link down in the comments So folks can just click on that and they don't have to worry about remembering page and number. But thank you, Mary. Appreciate it. All right. Wow, that was exciting. That was great. I want to thank, or we want to thank Dr. Ravalli, Dr. John Ravalli, School Superintendent Daryn Plummer, and School Board Member Walter Jackson for coming on and having a really good discussion, I think, about this. This is a topic that folks shy away from race issues. It's not, maybe it's happening more often now, but remember when I was growing up, you very rarely found white folks and black folks talking about racial issues for whatever reason. But that attitude has changed or is changing, and that can only be a good thing. And that will lead up to discussions about equity among all groups in this country, and that can only be for the better. So there's nothing wrong with discussion. There's nothing wrong with talking about stuff.
No, there's something very right about it.
Absolutely.
And this is only the beginning, Daryn Plummer.
Absolutely.
This is the beginning, and we certainly would like to revisit as you've grown into what this is all about, and just get periodic, progress reports.
Right.
What are you
love that.
seeing? What are you affecting? How are the students reacting? How is the administration reacting? Just the color of the program. How has it evolved, and what's actually been achieved? I think the community needs to know that, and I think it's wonderful. It's long overdue, and it's a tremendous step in a very right direction.
Right. I think we can get some kind of idea of how Daryn Plummer is going to approach this by that plaque that's hanging on the wall behind him there, where it says "Bring your A+ game."
Every day. I need that behind me every day.
That's it.
All right, let's check, Misha, who we got commenting. This Katina Blackman Jackson person has been doing a lot of commenting.
Oh, we should talk about
That's great. So, Katina, we appreciate you watching and your support. She says Mary Clark is excellent, the creme de la creme, and she says she's got nice things to say about that Walter Bernie Jackson guy too. So anyway,
well deserved.
Absolutely. So we want to thank you guys for coming on, and anytime.
Thanks for having us.
The door is always open for you folks and the rest of obviously the educational establishment in Franklin Township, because that's our future. That's our future, folks, and not only, it's the future in terms of the kids coming up and going on to lead and do great things, but also in terms of, if you really want to get down to it, monetarily, fiscally, the biggest chunk of our tax dollar goes to the school district. So it's a very important thing, and we need to keep abreast of it and try to do the best. And we have some plans in the future, so stay tuned. Daryn Plummer, Walter Jackson, thank you so much for coming on and staying long.
PJ, thanks for having us.
Yes,
Okay.
It's absolutely our pleasure. We wish you all the luck in the world.
Yes, absolutely.
I think you're the perfect candidate to make this happen.
I appreciate that so much. Appreciate you guys' support.
Okay, we will be talking to you. Thanks again.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you,
You too.
gentlemen.
We'll see you later, actually. We'll see you
Yes, we'll see you
Yes.
in a sec.
Yes, in a little while. Yes. I gotta run home
See you
and
in
run
an
back.
hour.
See ya.
Me too, actually.
We're having our-
All right. Okay, that was great. Boy, what a interesting program this was, and I have we have some. I'm going to put this one up. There it is.
Oh, thank you, Katina. Thank you.
Thank you, Katina. We
We're
appreciate
big
your
fans of
support.
the Jackson family. It's
Absolutely.
just such an honor to see 3 children with totally distinct talents and gifts within one family, each one of them shining.
Yeah.
A bright star
And
with the opportunity and the blessing and the nurturing of their parents. And it's,
right, and we
it's
see
a
that.
shining example.
We see that in a lot of families in this town, and
Yes.
and it can't that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't be so evident without having a supportive network of teachers and school administrators.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
is there racism in the schools in this town? Of course, yes, there's racism in this town. And, to deny it is to be living in an alternate universe, because there's racism in this world. There is discrimination not only against races, but against who you love and who you are and how you want to dress and how you want to wear your hair. I mean, there's who you vote for, obviously, is the most.
Well, I don't know. I draw the line in how you want to dress, but kidding.
But thankfully, because of our diversity, because we have so many different kinds of people in this town, thankfully that whatever damage that could do, I think, has been mitigated. And it shows in how well the kids who come up through the school system do, and what they excel in, and it's a great town. So, all right, I think we're going to
open door philosophy, and I don't mean necessarily the physically open door, but the inclusion and the respect and the dignity that Daryn Plummer brings to this position. You can see how kids relate to him.
Sure.
And to Adrian Plummer, as well as Rebecca and Nick Solomon. And I constantly am referring to the Warrior for Life Scholarship Foundation, what they have done to elevate students who have excelled in their own way, not necessarily in the typical educational way, but who have excelled as not only students, but as humans, as human beings, and their zeal to move forward and to give back. It's, just an incredible organization. And there is something going on for that at the gazebo. When is that happening?
Next week, September. Boy, I'm good. June 12th at the gazebo, the municipal gazebo. There'll be a little recognition. They're not doing the usual gala this year because of COVID. They just didn't have time to put it together. So there's going to be a recognition at the gazebo on the 12th. We obviously will be there, Franklin. So if you can't make it, we will most likely live stream whatever goes on, so you can watch at your leisure. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It always is. It's always great.
There's a lot going on in the community these next several weekends.
Oh my gosh, people are breaking out. I mean, it's like we've been locked in our cages for a year. They finally opened up the doors, and everybody wants to do everything now. So a lot of things going on the weekend.
We saw that up close and very personal the other night at Forest Lodge for the Franklin High School senior prom.
Yeah.
Where it was so delightful to see these kids enjoying each other, enjoying themselves, the girls just dressing to the nines and the boys matching them, and just the inner joy that you could see in just showing themselves off and just being with their friends in an environment that they couldn't be in last year. It was just it was heartwarming. It was heartwarming, and that had happened, and that it was, I think it was everything they wanted it to be. And the weather was just perfect.
Weather was nice, yeah.
It was just delightful. And so tonight will be another light shown for tomorrow night's performance of Shrek Jr. From the Sampson Smith.
It's the combined middle schools.
It is both schools.
Yeah, I forget what the middle school players. I think they're called. I don't quite know, but it's going to be presented at Sampson, and but it's both middle schools.
Next week, next Saturday.
Well, a week from next Saturday. No, the 19th.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's 2 weeks.
Don't rush our lives. Jeez. Time goes by fast enough.
These are important community events.
No, absolutely. Juneteenth.
A little bit of a heads up. That's a plus.
If you're interested in things Kennedy-esque, Franklin, tomorrow at 1:00, there will be a formal dedication of the John F. Kennedy statue. I should say John F. Kennedy and John statue. At I don't remember the name of the plaza.
JFK.
It's on JFK across from Rutgers
JFK Plaza now.
You know where it's called JFK Plaza now?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so there's going to be a formal dedication of that statue. I don't know who's going to be there, but we'll be there. We're everywhere.
Yes, we are.
I'm not sure if there's anything else going on tomorrow, but
bringing Franklin to
Franklin.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's good. Listen, Franklin Township, if you like this sort of stuff. Oh, you know what I wanted to do also, though, before we go? One last shout out to our to our sponsor, Nick DeMeglio. Again, this edition of the Franklin Reporter and Advocate News Hour is brought to you by Nick DeMeglio and Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, located at 44 Princeton Heightstown Road in Princeton Junction. Whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, call Nick DeMeglio at 732-828-9403 and let him put his experience to work for you. And as people know, Nick is golly, what does Nick is
the president of the Parent Teacher Student Organization of Franklin High School. He also is the power behind the force of Project Graduation, which is an event. I'm not quite sure what that date is, but it's prior to graduation this year. Graduation being outside one date on June 29th.
10 a.m. June 29th, high school graduation.
And Project Graduation has typically been an event that invited the graduates right after graduation day to celebrate within the halls of the high school, where it began, I believe, at 9 p.m. and went all the way to 4 a.m. with food all night long and entertainment, music, games, face painting, athletics,
all sorts of stuff,
all sorts of sporting events under the roof or outside on the property of the high school. And the whole point of it was to keep students safe. Typically, there are so many tragedies that can ensue after a graduation ceremony, where kids get behind the wheels of a car after they've consumed alcohol or whatever. And this has just become such an important event for parents to feel that their children are safe and still enjoying each other's company and celebrating this milestone of high school graduation. So again, I'm not sure when that's going to be. This year is going to be before graduation,
right? And it's going to be in the early evening. It's going to be an abridged version of it. It'll be outdoors, I believe, at Warrior Stadium. Mm-hmm. So the kids, they'll have one more time to socialize with each other and have a nice party. And then I think it's the 25th or the 26th. I don't quite remember, but we'll be there.
Yes, and we'll be publicizing it, so we'll get you the exact date.
What I was going to say was that Nick is a power behind the scenes in a lot of different things, and Nick is one of the bigger boosters of Franklin Township and Franklin Township schools that you're going to find.
Yes,
and he doesn't
he's responsible for the lawn signs, the graduation lawn signs.
Right. He doesn't get the notoriety that other folks who are involved in the schools or in the township in general do, but his influence is ever present. So we thank him for sponsoring this edition of the News Hour. All right. Well, I'm looking at the clock on the wall, and I'm seeing that it's getting time
we have 20 minutes to get.
We got to get over to Samson to deal with the. This is we do, and I started this. Gosh, I forget how many years ago. Mainly at the high school, where I would go in during one of the dress rehearsals, usually near opening night, and just take some photos for a gallery so that we could give folks an idea of what they're going to see if they go see the play. This play is a little different. This play is just virtual. So if you go, we have a story. If you go to franklinreporter.com and look at the story, you'll see a link where you can buy, or actually it's on our Facebook page. I'm sorry, it's on our Facebook page. There's a link there where you can buy tickets. The tickets are only for the live stream. They only limited the in-person audience to the family, I guess the parents of the kids who are performing. So, but like who was it, Walter, or I think it was Daryn. Get yourself some popcorn, get yourself some soft drinks, and tomorrow and
gather around.
It's going to be I believe it's one performance on Saturday and two performances on Sunday, but it'll be in the story that I put up later on with a photo gallery, so people will be able to still be able to check it out and buy some tickets.
So we'll give you a little sneak preview with the photo gallery, and we'll try to see if the powers that be who have created this will be talking to us live.
Yeah, we'll see.
So anyway, it starts at 6:30. It's 6:10.
We're going to get going pretty soon. We want to give you some reminders, though, Franklin. If you need to know what's going on in town 24/7, go to our website at franklinreporter.com.
Where you can subscribe for a mere 10 cents a day. There is no other news outlet for 10 cents a day that can give you the breadth, the depth, and the Franklin to Franklin
Right.
nonsense that go on every single day in your community.
There are news outlets which purport to be free, but remember, Franklin, the old adage, you get what you pay for. If you're a person who is or a business owner who is thinking about getting the word out about your business or your event, if you're an organization, getting the word out to Franklin Township, there's no better way than to do it through the Franklin Reporter and Advocate, through our website and through our newspaper, the monthly digest, and also through our morning report newsletter, and also through shows like this, the News Hour, and our live streams. If you're interested, contact PJ Parker at ads@franklinreporter.com. If you have an idea for a story or a complaint, you can contact me at editor@franklinreporter.com. If you want to just see what's going on, you can find us at Twitter. Obviously, we're on Facebook because you're watching this. Most of you are watching this on Facebook right now. We also are on the Insta, as the kids say, Insta. Nope, I'm sorry. That's not us. That's an old one. That's a banner from an old show. I need to get rid of that.
Well, actually, the RosieFoundation.org refers to Dr. Alex Karazi's organization,
Right,
who is accepting donations and funding to help our brothers and sisters in India battle COVID by enabling oxygenators to be sent there, which is a very expensive project and in very short supply. So maybe it was not accidental that popped up. The RosieFoundation.org. Right.
Alex is doing his magic. Anyway, yeah, it is now 6:12, so we do have to wrap this up, and I've got to get this.
Go shrekking.
I've got a little puppy here sleeping on the floor. He was sleeping on my lap for a while. Now he's sleeping on the floor. So I'm looking out the window.
His brother is sleeping on another floor.
It's looking like it's cleared up. Thank goodness.
When thunder, we have our hands full, Frank.
Yeah.
Okay,
Franklin. Well, this was great. This was a real meaty show. I'm really glad we did this.
I'm just so thrilled that an obvious issue has been identified, has been acknowledged, and is going to move forward to make life more reasonable.
Yes. All right, Franklin. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching us live. Thanks for watching us on recorded or transcribed, as they used to say in the old time radio programs, the transcribed version of the News Hour. And Franklin, as usual, until we meet again, stay safe. PJ, say that thing that you always say.
We will be back.
Indeed.